Thought I'd shoot a little video of 6 ways to cut a heating bill. Very simple ideas, and I'm going to try and beat whatever last year's bill was, even with the cost going up. Now, the first tip is the control panels. This is what most people set the control panel to max on the radiator and the hot water. And I'll explain how this way you can actually use this to save a lot of money as well. So what our first tip is to change the setting down a little bit more to that. Now, obviously, the radiators aren't going to get to as really hot as they were when they're maximum, but you don't need that heat to actually heat the whole house. It'll heat it a little bit slower, but once you got there, it's more efficient to keep it that level. It's like driving the car absolutely flat out as fast as you possibly can. But going at a steady pace, you're still going to get there in the end, the same result. So what you don't really can see is there's lots of pipes running underneath the floor, etc. And if you've got that at the full temperature, the boiler's trying to keep it actually that hot, and all that heat's getting wasted somewhere else. Where if you've got it at this level, once you've got the room to a certain temperature, it's much more efficient to keep it to that level. Now the next one is to shift the hot water down a little bit, not from right up the top, it's just down a little bit. Now, when you've got it at this level and you're washing your hands or doing something else or having a bath, what you're basically doing is you fill it with red hot water and then you cool it down with cold water, where really you only want a temperature about sort of this level. You can have a little play with it, whatever you're happy with. But you shouldn't be adding cold water to cool it down because that's wasting a lot of energy as well. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, if you've got a big old chimney or a little chimney, best thing to do is to block it off like we have here. Because what happens is when you heated the room up, a lot of the heat gets sucked up the chimney. So basically it's just going straight out in the atmosphere, and that will waste a lot of heat. So it doesn't look pretty like this, but when you're looking at it straight on, you can't see all the tape and cardboard there that's actually blocked the chimney. So that's a big tip. It saves you a lot of heat just going up the chimney. Next tip is quite simple, is just put foil behind your radiators. Because if you don't, the heat's going to go through into the wall, maybe actually warming somebody else's house up, or if it's external wall, you're competing against the cold from the external wall. So if you've got an external wall, 2 things will happen here. The cold from the external wall can get in, and more importantly, the heat can get to try and cool that down so it goes into the house. So that's the next tip. Now the next one is quite simple here, is you just drop the temperature a bit. Now we haven't got the heating on yet because I shot this in September and it's still not the time of year to put the heating on. But at the time of doing this, the room temperature was 19.5. So you've got to decide 19.5 is quite warm. I can't chill it down because you need air conditioning to do that. But basically, I think 18 to 19. So if you've got yours set at 2021, the boiler's been working really hard to keep it at that temperature. So that's another important thing to check. Just knock it down a little bit. All thermostats are going to be a little bit different, so it's up to you which one you are. And if you're actually going away for a few days, don't leave the heating running full blast. Drop it down to a low temperature if you're just worried about frost. But we don't get bad winters like we used to, so it's not really a worry. But put that in place if we do get some extreme cold weather. And the last tip is if you've got a room, you never go in, switch the radiator off. What's the point of having the radiator running in a room that's not used? Now, there's lots of tips there that can actually help you save. So what I'm going to do is put another video up here a bit later on how to use your kettle more efficient. And if everybody in the country did this or use that, that's going to knock the heat down as well, because you don't need as much heat to heat up your kettle, which I'll show you in a second. And if you're watching that, you can actually put warm water in the kettle if you've just used it for something else, rather than heat it up from cold. So if you enjoyed watching that, give it a like. If you subscribe to my videos, subscribe. If you've got any comments, put it in the comments. Have a great day, everybody.